Welcome to A2Council Update, a recap of the Ann Arbor City Council meeting on October 6, 2025. This meeting included comments and discussion about sharing the cost of sewer upgrades with the University of Michigan, amending the procurement ordinance to increase the limit of what the city administrator can spend or sell without a vote of City Council, temporarily amending location restrictions for marijuana businesses, amending the bylaws of the Transportation Commission to add a reference to crash data, accepting a $10 million grant from the Department of Energy for a geothermal district in the Bryant neighborhood, and allocating $560,000 of that grant money to labor unions for workforce development. This is the voting chart for the council meeting on October 6, 2025. All agenda items were approved unanimously. You can find this voting chart and more information about this meeting at A2Council.com. Like and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. The meeting included a presentation from Stephanie Carter, Chair of the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission.
As you know, the article in the Ann Arbor News reported that the actual number of black drivers that had been stopped had gone up since the ordinance was passed, and that concerned us. And since the policy was implemented, the numbers of those kind of stops went down to near zero. Our policy committee is still working. We are actually looking at every policy of the Ann Arbor Police Department to see if we want to make any suggestions for changes or upgrades on those policies.
After introductory remarks, public comments, and staff explanations, Council discussed agenda items for about 10 minutes. 9 people signed up in advance to offer public comments. 6 people spoke to topics on the agenda. The consent agenda this week included 15 items and expenditures of over $30 million. 1 item was pulled for discussion. Council considered a cost-sharing agreement with the University of Michigan to fund necessary upgrades to the city's sewer system in preparation for 2 new university dorms, 4,800 beds. Council discussed it for about 4 minutes.
Currently, the cost-sharing agreement in front of us commits the university to paying approximately 90% of project cost, or an estimated $16 million, to complete the first phase of this project, constructing a new sanitary relief sewer.
This is not correct and ignores the total cost of the project. As explained in the staff memo, the total cost of the project is about $23 million. The university's share, $16 million, is not 90%, but approximately 70%. The city will pay nearly $7 million to upgrade sewer systems, which is approximately 30% of the total project cost. The cost-sharing agreement includes reference to how it was negotiated. The city and the university considered dividing all costs in terms of university needs and future city growth. Instead, only one part of the project was divided. The university assumes 90% of the cost of Part A, and the city assumes 100% of the costs of Part B. An amendment was offered proposing that the university cover 90% of any additional cost if there are weather-related delays.
This new part is subject to a subsequent amendment or supplement clarifying that the university's agreement to cooperate with the city to identify and implement reasonable, mutually agreeable wet weather mitigation measures and to treat any wet weather problems and claims and related costs as project costs to be paid according to the cost allocation in the agreement, 90-10.
The amendment was approved unanimously. The cost-sharing agreement was approved unanimously as amended. No one spoke at a public hearing for ordinance amendments that will increase the amount of city money and assets that can be spent or disposed of without a vote of City Council. The amendments were approved unanimously without discussion. No one spoke at a public hearing for temporary changes to the marijuana ordinance, reducing location restrictions relative to 2 preschools. The ordinance amendment was approved unanimously, without discussion. Council considered another ordinance amendment, adding a phrase to the bylaws of the Transportation Commission. The Commission is an advisory body that makes recommendations to Council. Amendments to the bylaws clarify that in advising Council, the Commission will consider crash data and recommendations from staff. Earlier in the evening, public commenters spoke to the issue.
We need physical barriers to protect people from cars the same way we use physical barriers to protect people from dangerous animals.
We need to eliminate excessive lanes, and we need to take over the state trunk lines so we can implement the same measures there.
We adopted Vision Zero. Vision Zero is data-driven. We were getting data from staff to the Transportation Commission until it wasn't good data anymore, and then it stopped. So we are promised safety, but what we've received is continued risk, particularly at intersections where the city knows danger lurks.
Quick builds shouldn't be hard. A couple of you were here during Healthy Streets, where the city widened sidewalks and shifted lane lines. We also see road crews shut down lanes all year round for construction projects, and motorists cope just fine.
10 of the 13 serious and fatal crashes that we've had this year were suffered by pedestrians in crosswalks where drivers didn't yield. Let's measure and report driver compliance at crosswalks. Let's deactivate flashing yellow arrows at the remaining intersections that still direct left-turning traffic through active crosswalks. And let's implement leading pedestrian intervals at intersections like Huron and Maine, where a pedestrian was seriously injured this year by a right-turning vehicle.
Council offered a brief explanation.
This is largely about codifying a responsibility that Transportation Commission, in conjunction with staff, have been developing over the last year or so. I think this is still being refined, but like I said, this is an effort to codify within the bylaws what has been in process for a while.
It was approved unanimously at first reading. At a future meeting, it will be the subject of a public hearing and final approval at second reading. Council then considered an assistance agreement with the Federal Department of Energy to receive over $10 million in grant funds. This money will support work in the Bryant neighborhood, establishing a geothermal district. Council and staff made statements in support for about 7 minutes.
Like all of the work out of OSI, this project is rooted in equity, intentionally aimed at serving one of Ann Arbor's most diverse and affordable neighborhoods, and once completed should serve to lower energy utility bills for everyone participating.
We write a lot of grants in OSI, and I will tell you, this is the one that made me jump up and down and get a little giddy, because we were pretty concerned when we started the Bryant project in terms of how we were going to decarbonize heating and cooling in the neighborhood without increasing energy burden.
I think that the work you guys are doing is truly making it possible for people, irrespective of income, to participate in the fight against climate change.
It is truly miraculous that this grant ultimately came through, because we know of so many things that are not. And it takes an enormous amount of courage to pioneer a new energy technology. And the Bryant neighborhood is doing that for this city. We got this money because it will make so many dreams come true.
We've had a vision as a municipal organization, as a council, a municipal organization, a staff, a community to create America's first carbon neutral neighborhood. With this help, we're going to be able to do great things for our residents and serve as an exemplar of government that's doing good work for its community.
The grant was approved unanimously. Without discussion, Council unanimously approved 2 allocations of this grant money to support the geothermal district. $1.8 million for design and engineering, and $150,000 for public engagement services from the Community Action Network, a nonprofit that works in the Bryant neighborhood. Council then considered another allocation of grant funds from the Department of Energy. $560,000 will be paid to labor unions for workforce development in support of the geothermal district. This agreement will direct federal funds to a labor union that has paid Councilmember Jen Iyer over $65,000 in consulting fees. Jen Iyer owns a business, Iyer Consulting, which she founded just 4 months after winning a seat on Ann Arbor City Council. In promoting that business, she advertises herself as a member of Ann Arbor City Council and takes credit for the city's contracting policy. For years, Iyer also emphasized her business as promoting labor unions. That phrase was recently edited out of her website. Labor unions are required to report annual expenditures over $5,000 to the Federal Office of Labor Management Standards. According to those reports, Iyer Consulting has received over $127,000 in payments from labor unions IBEW 665 and IBEW 252. IBEW 252 has paid Iyer Consulting over $65,000. For IBEW 252, Iyer Consulting manages their Facebook page, developed an Android Google app, and reportedly worked on campaigns and websites. 5 months after Jen Iyer was elected to City Council, the city's Office of Sustainability announced a collaboration with IBEW 252 for the A2 program. The city established its own page on the IBEW 252 website. That website puts the city and the A2 program front and center. A dedicated page promotes their collaboration with the city, including city logos, while also advertising IBEW 252 contractors. The page invites viewers to follow the Facebook account that Jen Iyer manages through Iyer Consulting. The IBEW 252 Facebook account, managed by Iyer, regularly boasts about its connection to the city and participation in city programs. Since 2022, IBEW 252 has been named as a partner in annual reports for the city's A2 plan. This week, IBEW 252 is a grantee receiving $560,000 in federal funds from the Department of Energy through an agreement with the City of Ann Arbor. The same IBEW 252 has reported paying $65,000 to Councilmember Jen Iyer's business, Iyer Consulting. Ann Arbor City Council rules list conflicts of interest as Ethics Rule Number 1. Michigan state law is clear regarding public contracts. A public servant cannot take any part in a contract with an entity that employs her, including approval of that contract. A public servant must promptly disclose a conflict of interest with a public contract, and that contract must be approved without their vote. Council Ethics Rule 4 directs that council members ask to be excused from votes when they have any personal relationship with the matter at issue that would impact their independent judgment or create a conflict of fiduciary duties. Just 3 weeks ago, Mayor Taylor illustrated how this happens before stepping away from the council table.
Sometimes we, people at council, when they have a financial interest or a potential financial interest, do request the leave to be recused from the vote. QM is a client for which I do work, and so I would request council's acquiescence in stepping down. This really goes with respect to CA2 and CA10, but I guess we'll deal with CA10 when the time comes. We have a motion, moved by Radina, second by Dish. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? I'm recusing. Councilman Radina.
This week, when Council considered the $560,000 grant award to IBEW 252, Councilmember Iyer offered the only comment.
Discussion, please, of DC 6. 5, sorry. Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you. Just a very brief comment that pointing out what this is. It's so important as we are moving towards new technologies like geothermal that we are supporting the folks who have been doing the work to heat our community for all of these many, many decades in transitioning their skills into the skills of the future. And so this part of it is really important in that sense, making sure that we have what we call a just transition so that we're not leaving the workers that we have relied on for so many years behind, but making sure that we are helping bring them along and train them for future jobs.
All in favor? All opposed? It is approved.
She did not disclose her association with IBEW 252 or the $65,000 she has received from them working on their behalf. She did not recuse herself from the vote. The agreement allocating $560,000 in federal grant money was approved unanimously. Finally, without discussion, Council approved a change order for work on the Fuller Road parking lot and the border-to-border trail. The meeting adjourned before 8 p.m. with no additional public comment. For more information about this meeting, visit A2Council.com.
Welcome to this week's A2Council Moment of Zen.
We spend a lot of time on ethics rules, and a council member may be excused if the council member asserts that he or she has a personal relationship with the matter at issue that impairs his or her exercise of independence of judgment on the matter or creates a situation with conflicting fiduciary duties. That's the rule.